And welcome back with Fight Night Picks, as always, one half of your hosting duo, Craig Allen. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Craig Allen FNP. To my left, your right, Matt Allen on the respective socials at Matt Allen FNP. And we could not be more excited for the first of 3 title fights. We have the women's flyweight strap on the line between Bullet Valentina Shevchenko and Jessica Andrade, the former strawweight champ, the former UFC bantamweight, who's beaten such a high level of competition. That's the thing. For Jessica Andrade, we talk about it at 135 pounds, and you may have thought she was even undersized, possibly at 25, maybe even at 115, because she's so short, but such a powerful athlete. And as far as all of the metrics and numbers are concerned, a much higher rate in a lot of those statistical categories than her opponent, the longtime champ at flyweight, Valentina Shevchenko. But just to go through some of those names, for Andrade, she fought Jennifer Maia, future title challenger. She fought Liz Carmouche, future title challenger. Beat Dr. Rosie Sexton. Beat Raquel Pennington, future title challenger. Beat Larissa Pacheco, future PFL title challenger. And the list goes on and on. But it has been such a very high level of competition for Andrade. And the craziest thing is, she's not even 30 years old. It's insane to think of how long Andrade has been in the UFC. She debuted way back when at UFC on Fox 8 in 2013 against Liz Carmouche and actually got finished by the now Bellator flyweight. And for Valentina Shevchenko, the same can be said as far as the level of competition, whether at 35 or 25. You look at it, her debut in the UFC, she fights Sarah Kaufman, and then her next time out, we're talking Amanda Nunes at UFC 196. One of the biggest cards of all time. And it's crazy to see how her career has played out because a lot of people think highly or so highly of those Nunes fights that you almost kind of gloss over this championship run that she's had at 25. And while the names haven't been spectacular, I mean, again, Carmouche, Chookagian, not the greatest. Maia, she lost a round, but she has looked impressive in her own respects in different areas of the fight. The other thing for Shevchenko, and you'll see it by the graphic that pops up, she's fought in some of the most obscure hole-in-the-wall gyms while she's been a champion, and we can attest to it. When she was getting ready for Joanna Jędrzejczyk, UFC 231, back in December of 2018, she trained at another hole-in-the-wall in Brunswick, Maine, and rented like a cabin on a lake, just getting ready for the fight, training with no uncertain training partners, with her average everyday coach and her sister, Antonina, and she looked great in that fight.
I'm more excited for this fight than I am any other one in the card. There you go. I'm more excited for this than the co-main or the main event because I truly believe Jessica Andrade is the only woman at this division who even has a small chance of beating Valentina Shevchenko. And I do think it's going to require someone with the skills of Andrade to really go up against a champion like Shevchenko, because other than that one Jennifer Maia fight, and really other than that one round in the Jennifer Maia fight, we haven't even seen Shevchenko tested at 125. Now, I will bring up the one fight where we did see her tested a little bit. Joanna Jędrzejczyk didn't do that bad against Valentina Shevchenko. Everyone has this narrative of, oh, she moved up in weight class and then Shevchenko dominated her. Not really. And Joanna lands a lot of clean shots in that fight. It's just I never thought that Joanna really got her fair shake when people bring up the amount of trouble, I guess, Shevchenko has had in some of her title defenses, because I do think Jędrzejczyk had at least some level of success. Now, Jessica I didn't do anything good in that fight whatsoever. Liz Carmouche, that fight was terrible. Let's just call it what it is. But that was just one of those low work rate fights. She absolutely dominated Shevchenko, though. And the Jennifer Maia fight was interesting. And I'd love to get your take on this, too, because I think Valentina Shevchenko, she might be falling into what I'm going to now coin as a Chris Cyborg rut, where you've fought so many people who aren't even close to your level. Because, let's be honest, a lot of people like to say that, oh, this big underdog has a chance. I didn't see a single person say Jessica I could beat Valentina. I didn't see a single person say Katlyn Chookagian or Jennifer Maia could. But now she's starting to find herself, or at least in her last one, in fights harder than she at least thought they would have been. Do you think when she goes in against Jessica Andrade, there's at least a little bit of a chance where she's finally going to get in there with what I'm going to consider a world-class opponent, and she's going to be like, damn, I haven't been in here with someone like this in a little while. Will it take her a little bit to get used to another world-class opponent?
I look at the odds, so I'm going to play into this. For the Jessica I fight, Shevchenko was roughly a minus 1,400 favorite. Carmouche, minus 1,100. Katlyn Chookagian, minus 1,200. Jennifer Maia, minus 1,825. And then for Andrade, minus 400.
It's wild because that's what if there was any other champion who had this easy of a path after they got the belt, we would not be talking about them as one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the sport. And I know I sound like a Shevchenko hater right now. I just don't think that her run at 125 has been all that spectacular. Now, if you put a name on your resume like a Jessica Andrade, I'm going to change my opinion really fast. I just think that we are finally dealing with someone who can beat Shevchenko, and we haven't even seen her in the cage with someone who has a chance against her since Joanna or Amanda Nunes, depending on how you look at those fights.
I mean, you look at the losses. So the Carmouche loss was the cut that ended the fight. All right, stuff like that happens. We throw that one out. It says KO, TKO, but now you know. The 2 decision wins are weird because Nunes in the first fight, did she win it? Yeah. The second fight, was it closer? I don't know. They were both pretty close fights. But you like to see that out of Shevchenko, and you could kind of project, okay, well, if she does make the move to 25, future champ for a very long time. For Andrade, though, you look at the run at 15. So let's forget about 135 and let's focus on 115 pounds. She beats Jessica Penne.
Finishes her.
Jessica, where are you at? Picking up wins over Lupi Godinez that you didn't really win. Then she beats Joanne Calderwood.
Finishes her.
Then she beats Angela Hill.
One of the low-key greatest women's MMA fights of all time. I highly recommend going back and watching it.
Fights Joanna Jędrzejczyk at UFC 211. Loses by decision. All right, so do we give up? Do we move up to 25? No, we pick up the pieces, and she comes back out 4 months later and fights Claudia Gadelha. And wins.
Destroys her.
Then she beats Tisha Torres. Then she beats Karolina Kowalkiewicz, and that was gross. That was just straight up gross. Then she beats Rose Namajunas. Was it illegal? Rose will have you believe it. Some people will as well. But she does beat her, finishes her, gets the belt. Rose was coming off of the fights against Joanna that were absolutely insane. And of course, if you're going to tune in for the next video, which you should, we will talk about them in more detail. But she beats Rose Namajunas handily. And then it's a one and done. She loses to Zhang Weili. It's about 3 months later. It's in China. It was a weird one. She didn't look all that great. She looked kind of flat. And listen, it was fun while it lasted, but Zhang Weili gets the win. Then she loses to Rose Namajunas by split decision. I know you'll talk about it a little bit more, but she loses by split decision. That was the UFC 251 Masvidal Usman. Make sure you stick around for the second part of that. We'll be talking about it later on. So then she moves up to 125, and she fights Caitlin Chukagian. And listen, the late DMX, probably a big Caitlin Chukagian fan. She always comes out. She reps it. She's the blonde fighter. But in that fight, Andrade hit her to the body. And I've never seen somebody, and every now and again you see somebody give up or wilt under the pressure in a cage. But when she hits Chukagian, Chukagian runs the other way. She hit her so hard with that one.
I don't like the word give up. I gotta be honest. When you get hit to the body, there's just a delayed reaction. Like, you see that with a lot of fighters. You don't really know what to do because you have no more air in your lungs. So, for Andrade, I really think her key to this fight, and it will be interesting, because I doubt she's just going to be able to out-muscle Valentina Shevchenko the way that we were able to see her do it at 115. Because when I think of the best wrestling of Jessica Andrade, she's not like a Tatiana Suarez, who, I was so technical with my single and double legs. She straight up picks people up over her head and slams them down. That is her nickname. It is pile driver in Portuguese, which kind of tells you all you need to know about Jessica Andrade. I think if she can make her way to the inside and make this a very ugly fight and land good shots on Shevchenko, the ball is going to be in Shevchenko's court to then respond. And for Shevchenko, again, I just haven't seen her face any resistance. And when you do that 5-on in, I know Shevchenko, it might be more impressive because it's not like she's 3-2, but her wins aren't that impressive. Like, beating Jessica I. Could Jessica Andrade beat Jessica I at 125? I almost guarantee you she could. Could she beat Caitlin Chukagian? Well, we already saw it, and yeah, she did. And then when you talk about the second Rose Namajunas fight, she looked terrible in the first Rose fight, if we're being honest. Andrade did. Slams her on her head. In the second one, she eats a lot of shots at range, but when she does work it in close and kind of fight in a John Lineker-esque way, she absolutely beats and batters Rose Namajunas on the inside. So I think if Andrade can make this a boxing fight, don't let Shevchenko just be on the outside and really take her pictures to set up her counter. I do think Andrade can at least make this an ugly enough fight to win a round or two. But what I am concerned about is that Shevchenko, her gas tank is just phenomenal. She doesn't get tired at all in fights. So if Andrade is having success, I do think it's going to cap out at a certain point. And I do think all of her success is going to be coming from her energy and not from her technique. And that's where I do have to favor Valentina Shevchenko. I do favor her at-range attacks, and I do think the predictable attack of Jessica Andrade, as powerful as it might be, it will be predictable after a certain point. We saw what Shevchenko was able to do Jessica I after she figured out, oh, I's dropping her hands every time I kick. She was able to set one up to the head, and I do think Shevchenko will be able to set up a big counter shot as this fight progresses.
For Shevchenko, even if you want to focus on the Maia fight and say, okay, she did lose around 100%, she did second round, she got, controlled for, 4 minutes and 33 seconds of it. She controlled the first round for 4 minutes and 29 seconds, so the second round is Maia, and then it's like, oh boy, like, we laid down a lot of dope, minus 1825. Did we make a mistake? Yeah, well, ultimately you didn't, but at the time, yeah, you did. And then in the second round, Shevchenko, third, fourth, and fifth, it's all Shevchenko, and it was just a blip in the radar in that fight. But there's opportunities to beat Shevchenko. If you close the distance, if you work the takedown, can somebody like Andrade keep it up over 5 rounds? Probably not. You'd almost want her to get a finish, would you not?
Really, the only way I see Andrade winning this fight is by clipping Shevchenko a la Amanda Nunes Cyborg, because I do think it is a similar fight, whereas you have Andrade who, yeah, she might have lost to the higher level of competition, but she's always been fighting the best of the best of the best. Like, Jessica Andrade, it doesn't matter what weight you are, how tall you are, like, Andrade has fought the best fighters out there, and I don't know, Conor was the first fighter to have 3 TKO wins. I don't know if beating the number 1 contender in 3 weight classes deserves an award, but Andrade has done that, and that's a very impressive task. So, again, like I said, if anybody can do it at 125, it will be Jessica Andrade. And if she can do it, I see it by TKO, but I like Shevchenko in the end.
We talked about the odds for this one earlier on, but Shevchenko opened a minus 335 favorite. She's now a minus 407 or thereabouts on best fight odds. For Andrade, she opened a plus 275. She's now plus 309. Now comes the part that we love. We haven't seen the Tapology votes, so it's a surprise to everybody. 1,099 of them, 93% Shevchenko, 51% by decision, and 39% by knockout. For the slim margin, the 7% that have Andrade, 65% by knockout. It's another one. I'd leave it off my card because I do. Does Jessica Andrade win this fight in certain respects? I think she can. I really do think that she can. Again, the mix of power and the takedown ability, you saw it from Maia. Maia was able to take her down. And Maia is a little bit more of a tentative striker. That's a huge thing. I mean, Maia can strike. Is she as technical as some of the other strikers at 125? Maybe not. Is she as powerful as like an Andrade? No. She can strike, but her biggest weapon is if she can really work the takedowns, get the submissions. You're looking at Jennifer Maia. For Jessica Andrade, it's the power, it's the takedowns, it's the, position. It's usually some more position over submission into the ground and pound, but Andrade's got a shot.
Ugh. This is the thing, again, I'm the biggest Jessica Andrade, like, hey, she can win this fight, but even I'm struggling to find areas where she is going to have success. Unless she is able to catch Shevchenko with a big shot early on, and then hurt her enough to where she can finish her on the feet. My problem is, you bring up the takedown, all of Andrade's takedowns are slams, and I don't see a single area where Jessica Andrade picks up Valentina Shevchenko and slams her over her head. I think that the reason Maia had success with her takedowns is she can do trip takedowns, she can do single or double legs, and do more traditional takedowns, which really just take advantage of your opponent's body weight, whereas Andrade has to pick up her opponent and slam them on their head. I just don't see it for Andrade. She might be able to catch her with a big shot, but I do see Shevchenko just being the more accurate and having the more volume out of these two strikers. I think Shevchenko will be able to win a decision, but I don't think this fight's going to be this massive one-sided fight for Valentina, and I do think Andrade will have at least some moments where she has success.
The really funny thing out of this, when you compare these two fighters, and again, you look at all the numbers for Andrade, her average fight time in the UFC, 10 minutes and 12 seconds. They're 15-minute fights, and they're usually ending 2/3 of the way through or thereabouts. For Shevchenko, 17 minutes and 18 seconds. A true title fighter that usually goes longer into her fights. I like Shevchenko, and I wouldn't say ever so slightly, but again, the odds for me are a little crazy, and I won't have her on my card. But again, championship pedigree for both of these women. Shevchenko, as far as the work rate's concerned, fairly close. But again, I like the striking defense. I like the bobbing and weaving and the little micro movements and the kicks that she just kind of throws out there for fun. And the longer the fight goes, it definitely favors the champion in this circumstance. So for those reasons, I will go with Valentina Shevchenko, who, by the way, and you've seen it in the graphic, is representing Smiley's MMA because she trains at the weirdest gyms in the world.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I've got Shevchenko probably by decision. I doubt she's able to finish the durable Andrade, but this should be a phenomenal fight at women's 125.
Both of us going with the champion, the and still Valentina Shevchenko. Let us know down below in the comment section who you're going with in this fight. Do you think we're a couple of donkeys? Are you going with Andrade in this one? Or maybe you're going with Shevchenko. We get two more great title fights at the top. Zhang Weili taking on Rose Namajunas. And in the main event, the rematch, we have Kamaru Usman taking on Jorge Masvidal. So keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, as we always say.
Let's get into it.